Number 1. Torso in the Thames. On September 21st, 2001, near Tower Bridge in central London, a human torso was found in the River Thames. It belonged to a young black male, believed to be aged between 4 to 7 years. His head and limbs were missing, but he was still wearing a pair of orange shorts. Due to the young boy being unidentified, he was named Adam by the police, in an attempt to allow more people to sympathize with the boy, which would have been harder if the victim remained unnamed. Investigators at the time were already finding it hard to have the case heard by a wide audience due to it having occurred shortly after 9/11. A post-mortem of the body revealed that Adam had ingested ground down plant matter, grains resembling sand, clay pellets, and tiny gold particles. His throat had been slit, after which his body had been drained of blood. Then his limbs and head had been expertly removed from the torso. The plant matter was discovered to be datura seeds, which are a sedative, as well as being known to cause hallucination. Also, there were particles of calabar bean, native to West Africa. It is a toxic climbing vine which causes paralysis, but it is not a sedative or painkiller. It is believed that the boy was conscious when his throat was slit. Forensic investigation narrowed down that Adam had not been residing in the UK for long. It was most likely that he had arrived in the UK around a month earlier from West Africa, specifically Benin City in Nigeria, where the calabar bean can be found. The city of Benin is known as the home of voodoo, where voodoo is also recognized as an official religion. The evidence gathered by investigators via the post-mortem led police officials to believe that Adam had been trafficked into the UK for the purpose of being sacrificed in a ritual. Police then went and consulted the case with experts in cultural sacrifice practices in an attempt to gain an insight into what may have happened. They discovered that the Yoruba people, who are the second largest ethnic group in Nigeria, worship a river goddess called Oshun, and they usually associate the colour orange with her. This links to the orange shorts on Adam and the location of his torso in the River Thames. It was believed the ritual may have taken place in order to provide someone with money and power. Also, the precision of the dismemberment of the body led investigators to think that perhaps a witch doctor or priest may have also been involved. Further investigation into the shorts Adam was found wearing showed that they were made in China and were only available for purchase in Germany. This led police to believe Adam had been trafficked into the UK through Germany, a route which had previously been seen. Dr. Richard Haskins, a criminologist and African religion expert, believed Adam's body would have been drained of blood as an offering to whatever god his murderer believed in. The gold flecks in his intestine were used to make the sacrifice more appealing to that god. In 2002, Nelson Mandela made a public appeal for anyone with any information on the case to come forward in an attempt to help London police. His appeal was translated into many different dialects to be able to reach more people, although the efforts were unsuccessful. However, back in the UK, Joyce Osiagede, a Nigerian woman, was arrested in Glasgow She was attempting to gain asylum for herself and her 2 daughters. She was mentioning religion and sacrifice, making claims about extreme religious ceremonies that her estranged and violent husband was involved in. The police searched her flat and found clothing similar to Adam's shorts. She was arrested, but she had a history of mental illness, and no evidence was found to link her to Adam's murder, so she was deported to Nigeria. Then, in the March of 2011, Osiagede was interviewed by a television crew. It was during this investigation that she revealed that Adam was actually Ikpomwosa, a 6-year-old she looked after his parents were deported from Germany to Nigeria. After caring for him for a year, she gave the boy to a man called Bauer, who she thought took him to London. She also provided a photograph of a young boy she said was Ikpomwosa. However, her claim was false, due to the fact the boy in the photograph was Danny, the child of Tina, a friend of Osiagede's. He was found to be alive and well, still residing in Germany. In 2013, Joyce Osiagede contacted the reporters and wished to tell them what she really knew. Adam's name was not Ikpomwosa, but rather Patrick Ahaba, and the man she gave him to was not Bauer, but rather Kingsley Ojo. Ojo had been arrested by police investigating the case back in 2002. He had been using 3 different identities. Investigators had found a video labelled Rituals, which contained a B-movie, in which a man's head is cut off by an actor. They had also found a mixture of bone, sand, and flecks of gold in a plastic bag. Ojo claimed these items belonged to the others who also lived in the flat, and police were unable to link Ojo to the boy's murder. In 2004, Kingsley Ojo was sentenced to 4.5 years on the charges of human trafficking. During his time in prison, he offered to aid the police in the investigation, but was found to be wasting police time, and he was deported back to Nigeria. Nick Chalmers, a retired detective who had spent 7 years on the case, stated that Kingsley Ojo was someone I've been interested in for a long while. I've always suspected his involvement, and now, for the very first time, we have a witness who is saying categorically Kingsley was involved. Although the police received all of this information, the body of Adam has never truly been identified as being Patrick Ahaba. Although investigators believe this could be true, due to Osiagede's mental state, she cannot be truly viewed as a reliable witness. No one has ever been arrested for the murder of the little boy. A spokesperson for the Metropolitan Police stated, "The investigation remains ongoing, and any new information provided to the team will be thoroughly investigated." Number 2. Jivan Kohar. On July 21st, 2015, in the rural Kudia village in southwest Nepal, in the Nawal Parsi district, which borders India, 10-year-old Jivan Kohar went missing. Having last been seen playing with his friends in the village. Unfortunately, 3 days later, on the 24th of July, Kohar's body was discovered in a bush on the outskirts of Kudia village by the police. His head was almost severed from his body. 11 people were eventually arrested for their involvement in the murder of the young boy. Among those arrested was a 35-year-old man named Kadai Hirajan, the father of an 18-year-old boy called Bijaya Hirajan. The 18-year-old would constantly fall ill, which led his father to seek help from a shaman for his ailing son. The local shaman told Hirajan that an evil spirit was occupying his son's body, and this is what was making him ill. The shaman, Ganga Harijan, was known in the local community for, according to them, possessing spiritual powers. Kadai Hirijan later told the Himalayan Times that, when inquired, the spirit that had taken over Bijaya said it needed human meat to leave, so we made a plan to sacrifice Jivan. After finding the cure for his son from the shaman, Hirijan got together some of his relatives to help him get rid of the spirit. They came across the 10-year-old Jivan Kohar, who was out in the village playing with his friends. They then lured the young boy away by promising him 50 rupees, the equivalent to 49 cents, and a pack of biscuits. Kohar was taken to a temple on the outskirts of the village, where they conducted a religious ritual. After the ritual had been performed, the men took Jivan Kohar to a nearby field. It was here that the boy was held down by 3 people, as another slit his throat. The cut was so deep that it had almost severed Kohar's head from his body. Among those arrested are believed to be Kodai Hirijan, his ill son Bijaya Hirijan, 3 of Hirijan's brothers, a neighbour, and the shaman Ganga Harijan. 5 people out of the 11 arrested are known to have confessed their involvement in the murder. Jivan Kohar is thought to be the son of one of Hirijan's neighbours. The village that the murder took place in is known for being the home of some of the country's poorest and uneducated people. In reference to their local caste system, they are known as the Untouchables, due to the fact that they are seen as being so low in social standing that they are not even worth touching. Sacrifices are common within the lower castes. Every 5 years, in the Gadhinai festival, hundreds of thousands of animals are sacrificed by the country's mainly Hindu population in a superstitious belief that it will bring them prosperity. Nawal Parsi's chief district officer, Hari Prasad Manai, has stated, in regards to Jivan Kohar's murder, that it's very unfortunate what happened. From the government level, we are going to launch an awareness program against these superstitions in the villages of Nawal Parsi district. Number 3. Texas Vampire. On Friday, April 17th, 1998, 20-year-old Pablo Lucio Vasquez and his 15-year-old cousin, Andre Rafael Andy Chapa, attended a party in Donna, Texas. It was during the party that, according to Vasquez, both he and Chapa became intoxicated with alcohol, marijuana, and cocaine. That same night, 12-year-old 7th grader David Cardenas, who resided with his sister Sandra Ramirez in Alamo, Texas, was dropped off in Donna by his other sister, Hilda Cantu. Cardenas was planning on meeting a friend and then staying at his aunt's house for the weekend. It was at the party that the 12-year-old met the cousins, and after the party, the trio left together. On Monday, April 20th, Sandra Ramirez reported her brother missing after he failed to come home as expected. An anonymous caller informed the police that David Cardenas had been killed in the early hours of the 18th after having attended a party with cousins Chapa and Vasquez. 3 days after he had been reported missing, the body of the 12-year-old was found on the 23rd of April in a field under some grass and scrap aluminium in a shallow grave. His throat had been slit, he was missing one of his arms and a part of the other. The skin from his back had also been removed. There was a hole in the back of Cardenas's head, and he had also been scalped. His body had been mutilated after his death in such a way that his bones had shattered. The police swiftly arrested Pablo Vasquez in Conroe, and he confessed to the murder of David Cardenas. He told investigators that after the three of them left the party that night, as they walked past a wooden shed, Vasquez started hearing voices telling him to kill Cardenas. The intoxicated Vasquez picked up a pipe and smashed it on the 12-year-old's head before cutting his throat. Investigators found that one of the main causes of Cardenas's demise was blunt force trauma to the back of his head from being stricken multiple times. In a videotaped confession, Vasquez stated, "I started hearing voices in my head, and I told my cousin that somebody was telling me to kill him." Vasquez also stated that after he slit Cardenas's throat, he was still saying something, and I picked him up in the air. The blood was dripping, and I got it all over my face. So I don't know. I mean, something just told me to drink. Vasquez claimed it was the voice of Satan telling him to do everything. The drinking of the blood is what led Pablo Vasquez to be nicknamed the Texas Vampire. Whilst this was occurring, Chapa was digging a grave for Cardenas. Once they laid his body in the grave, they proceeded to strike the boy in the face with a shovel up to 6 times. Vasquez also stated how he attempted to remove the boy's head. "The devil was telling me to take it away from him, to keep it, but it wouldn't come off. I was just freaking out, 'cause I was hearing that. One side of my head said, 'You did it wrong.' The other side said, 'Keep doing it, keep doing it.' My face was covered with his blood. He was saying something. He was mumbling something." In his confession, Vasquez also stated he had thought of committing suicide after the murder, that he was sorry for the murder, and that he had not mutilated the boy's body. Investigators also found that the duo had stolen a ring and a necklace from Cardenas. The motives of the murder are still unclear. However, links to the occult were suspected, but Satanism was not mentioned during the trial. A cousin of Vasquez's testified that he had stated the motive for the murder was due to the fact that Cardenas did not give him what he wanted. In December 1998, Vasquez was found guilty of murder and sentenced to death. Then in April 2002, his sentence and conviction were affirmed. All of his appeals were denied. Andre Chapa was charged with murder. He pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 35 years in prison due to the fact that he was still a minor. This was extended by 3 years in 2002 for the possession of a deadly weapon while incarcerated. His first parole eligibility was in 2015, but was denied. Chapper's next shot at parole is expected to be in 2020. 3 more of Vasquez's relatives pleaded guilty to hiding evidence. Each of them was sentenced to 10 years of probation and fined $1,500, with one of them also being deported back to his home country of Guatemala. On Wednesday, 6th April 2016, Pablo Vasquez was finally executed via lethal injection for the murder of 7th grader David Cardenas. It was Texas's 6th execution of the year. 4 of Vasquez's relatives attended the execution. This included 2 of his sisters, a brother-in-law, and a cousin. He told his relatives he loved them and thanked them for coming. He then proceeded to say, "I'm sorry to David's family. This is the only way that I can be forgiven. You got your justice right here." And Vasquez's last words to his relatives were, "See you on the other side." Hello everyone, SinisterShaf here. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please remember to like and subscribe if you have not done so already. Also, if you can, share this video with your friends. You can also follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Links are in the description box below. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay sinister.